This is the lecture for American 2.4 talking about the Constitutional Convention. If you pick up any background noise, that is Jake and Josh playing and having a good time. Now, the Constitutional Convention happens in May 1787 in Philadelphia, and it's really the who's who of American politics are there meeting to replace the Articles of Confederation with a new Constitution. George Washington, Ben Franklin, James Madison, Patrick Henry. The two people who were gone were Thomas Jefferson, who was overseas in France as ambassador, and John Adams. But pretty much anyone who was going to be a big player for the next 20 years in American politics was here. Now, the reason they came together was the country was very weak. They didn't have any money. They didn't have the ability really to have an army. The Articles of Confederation had something in place, but really not that much. And Shays' Rebellion really just sparks everything and says, hey, we need to fix our country, because if we don't, Britain could attack us, Canada could attack us, who knows what might happen. So as they get together, the first big plan that's introduced is the Virginia Plan, introduced by people from Virginia. And the biggie here, if you don't remember anything else, is population is key. It's pretty much entirely devoted to the idea that the states with the largest population would have the most say in the legislature, executive, and judicial branches. The details are on page 36, but here are the big highlights. First, there would be a bicameral legislature, that's two houses, both based on population, that would make the laws. From the first house, which gets voted on by the people, they would pick a second house of the legislature, so it's also by the people, but it's even stronger from states like Virginia and New York. That would decide the issues. Now, from this legislature, they'd pick a powerful president and a powerful court system, so those are picked by the people. The government would have three big powers: the power to tax, regulate trade, make national laws. Small states didn't like this, so they came up with their other plan. Theirs was called the New Jersey Plan. It's favored by the small states. Each state would have one vote, and that's very similar to Articles of Confederation. And then this elected legislature would make the laws. The president would be weak. That's also similar to the Articles. There would be a court system picked by the legislature. So again, all states are equal. Now, this government could levy taxes and regulate trade, but they could not make national laws. So again, they're looking for a really weak government. Now, neither plan was going to be acceptable to each other. The small states were afraid that Virginia and New York were going to dominate the government, and Virginia and New York did not want the small states to be equal. Both sides were ready to leave. Then the Great Compromise is introduced by Connecticut. There would be a bicameral legislature, one based on population, and that today is called our House of Representatives. The other where each state is equal, and that's the Senate, where each state gets two. Now, there would be a president elected in part by population, sort of. Small states have more say because it's based on the number of senators and the number of representatives, so they have a little bit more say in that, but not a ton. And there would be a judicial branch approved by the Senate, so every state's equal, so this is pretty good to the small states. Now, this is going to be the best solution, but there's still other problems, so the states had to settle these other issues to avoid further issues. Biggie is slavery. Slavery would still be allowed, and the importing of slaves would happen for at least another 20 years. Basically, the North and the South could not come to an agreement and knew they never would, so they basically passed the problem off to their kids. You also have the Three-Fifths Compromise. Slaves would count in population for that House of Representatives, but only as 3/5 of a person. Trade. Exports won't be taxed. That really helps the South, who export cotton and tobacco and rice and other things. And then the presidency. Small states, as I said in the last slide, have more of a say, but not really. Of the first 6 presidents, all were from Virginia or New York. Remember to complete your study guide and finish your homework.